Okay, I think we are live. I think, let me just jump in the chat here and mute this version. Yeah, I think we are live. What is good, everybody? It is Red Flag Media. And yeah, I've been away for a minute. I just had some things I had to do. I had to prep for a performance and stuff. It went well, but it took some time away from this. And finally, I am live streaming. Yes, YouTube have stopped with the censorship for at least today. We'll see how long that lasts, but I can't promise it'll last very long, knowing how YouTube deal with my channel. I had something planned for this live stream. I was actually at a friend's house. We were going to have a discussion, him being from the atheistic, heliocentric point of view, and obviously me coming from the FE point of view. We were just going to have a discussion, go over each, point of view and try and maybe convince one to the other side, if it's possible. But, that fell through, so I had to run back and do this real quick. But I do have a few things that I do want to talk about. Just a couple of articles or things that I saw come up, especially on Facebook and stuff. People were talking about it. And I think it's worth mentioning, even though we already know what the deal is. Let me just jump into the chat real quick. What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good? We got allegedly Mark in here. Who are you trying to? You copying people? My dad's in the chat. What's good? Yeah, we got some people in here. All right, okay. So let's let me just go into the screen share real quick. It's gonna be a quick one because my whole plan got messed up. Here we go. Look, let me jump into the screen share. Okay, so I saw this, right? And I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear it. If I play this video, you're going to have to let me know in the chat after I played it if you even heard what was going on here. But this was obviously a hot topic for a short second. People coming at me, sending me links to this, talking about, there's evidence of life, organic matter on Mars. I mean, I didn't believe it, people, but they have some pretty convincing evidence. You see this beautiful cartoon over here, and you see, this shot of Arizona or Devon that's been color graded very nicely over here. Let's read a little bit of it. NASA confirmed it had uncovered various organic compounds and renewed hope for Curiosity's search for life on Mars. So they're talking about the Curiosity rover. I'm pretty sure the Curiosity rover was the one that got launched in the 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I mean, is this really, are we still believing that there's a remote control car on Mars in the 90s that's still going around, finding life and all this sort of stuff? Quite fun. Where's the video? There's a video down here, and it features one of our favorite people. Now I'm going to play it, and after I play it, I'm going to run into the chat to see if anyone even heard what I'm about to play here. But if you recognize this character here from a recent video, let's just play it and listen to a little bit of nonsense.
If there are biosignatures inside that organic material or associated with it, we're going to have a better chance of understanding that if we get to materials that are not exposed to all this radiation. That's one of the things today. We're finding some very interesting chemistry right up on the surface of Mars, and it's a promise of even more interesting chemistry to come. That we can get.
Okay, I'm conscious that people may not hear it, so let me know. Can you hear it? Can you hear it in the chat? Let me know. This chat's moving fast, so I don't know. Can y'all hear it? Too low. All right, y'all can't hear that. All right, I don't know. I can't play that. We got Michelle Fowler here. Okay. Apparently people can't really hear it. I don't know what I can do about that. Okay, well, basically, let me just summarize it. I've already watched it. We obviously had Michelle Fowler over here, the greatest agent of NASA, talking about the proof that the Earth is a globe is because boats disappear over the horizon. Obviously, something we've never heard before and cannot be debunked, and proves the globe without a shadow of a doubt. Now, this woman here at about this mark, let me just chuck the link to this article in the chat for y'all. Okay. This woman here, she's basically saying that this life on Mars, it got carried through a river, right? And then as biology does, life just happened. Life happened on Mars from nothing. There's sediment was carried in some sort of ancient river that they have absolutely no proof of. And then life was created, but we don't even know what kind of life, how, where it went. But it's definitely there. We have proof from the Curiosity rover that it was definitely there. These people who are talking in this video, that it doesn't even sound like, and I put the link in the chat, but it doesn't even sound like they're even trying to make sense of anything. They're just saying, well, there's a river and then there's biology, and the biology, it happened to create life. And it makes no sense. It's nonsense. But of course, we know that they have to push this Mars idea out and out and out and out because they want people to believe that they're going to Mars. They want people to, because they can't go to the moon, so they need to make it more far-fetched. What's the quote? It's if you're going to lie, you got to lie big, right? They can't go to the moon, so they need you to believe they can go hundreds of millions miles further than that to Mars. But they've destroyed the technology to go to the moon, but they've creating the technology to go to Mars by 2020. This is easy. Mars, easy. Moon, not so much. Gonna have to shoot that one in a sound studio and then make sure that people don't find out that we've done anything weird, because otherwise people might ask some questions. And if they start asking questions, oh, well, then, just call them all idiots. Make sure everybody knows they're stupid. This was something I found. Actually, I'm going to swerve off track here for a second. But I watched, or I noticed it myself, but then I watched a video from Jay Dreamers. Here, let me try and find it. What was it? Oh, yeah, just put in Flat Earth, right? It's called Philosophy by Jay Dreamers. And he made the point that if now when you put in Flat Earth, right, you get, now it's less than 6 million. When he did it, it was 6 million. And before that, it was even more, right? Now the results are going down. And all of them for pages and pages and pages is just making fun of the whole thing. Oh, look. Pops is making an appearance. But it's all making fun of it. It's all nonsense. Pages of nonsense. And these don't have high views. Look at this. 55,000 views. How many Flat Earth videos do you know that have more than this? But they won't show up. They need just mockery and mockery and mockery. We could go to the next page. We might find something. I doubt it, though. It's all mockery. So they don't care what they say because they have to they're propping it up with this shit. So if anyone goes, oh, well, maybe the Flat Earthers are onto something, let me do a little search for Flat Earth, they're not going to find anything real unless they already know the channel. It's all just nonsense. Oh, there's a channel there, but, look, a couple videos are coming through. We got the debate coming through here. Might be because I'm subscribed to them, though. But besides that, it's just constant garbage. So they can get away with doing things like this and saying, look, there's life on Mars. We have evidence that we can't really show you, but we can talk about. Because if you question it, you're not going to get anywhere. Here's the other one I found. What was it? The asteroid rush sending 21st century prospectors into space. Right? I think that's meant to say $9 billion or mine billions of dollars in resources from the solar system. So the space market is booming. Or should I say the fake market? They're milking it for as much money as they can. And this is just more of that. As these companies see things, the inevitable next step for our civilization is to expand into space. Why? Why would that be the next step for our civilization? To expand into space. The next step for our civilization is to feed people who can't eat. We got plenty of things. I just clicked on the wrong thing. We got plenty of things that we need to address on this plane of existence before we start worrying about expanding into space. This is nonsense. The Earth is too small for our increasing population, struggling over finite resources. Garbage. This is all propaganda. The Earth is not too small. What is it? Every man, woman, and child could survive with I believe, a quarter acre of land in Australia to themselves. And of course, people say, well, they're not saying the Earth is too small because there's too many people to take up space. It's because of the resources, because the oil. It's because we haven't needed oil for cars in how long? You know what I'm saying? We haven't needed, there's no finite resources. Oil just rejuvenates. It's like the blood of the earth. This is all garbage. This is propaganda. To survive long term, they argue, we need to become a multi-planet space-faring species. Human settlement won't happen without the use of what is already out there, as transporting everything from Earth would be too expensive. And nonsense. It's not. Asteroids, says Bonin, with their negligible gravity, making it easy to lift things off, are the low-hanging fruit of space resources. Unlike the Earth or Moon, they're too small to have any appreciable gravity, so it should be easy to lift material off them. Pickings are potentially getting richer as more asteroids are discovered close to Earth. Why did no asteroids ever hit Earth? So we had a massive asteroid that destroyed all the dinosaurs that don't exist, but we haven't had an asteroid hit Earth. People in the comment section or in the chat, they're going to send me links to asteroid craters, right? Asteroid craters. We all know them. We've seen them before. What is it? Get a picture up just so I can show you what I'm talking about. These, we've all seen these, right? Now, for one, my first question when I look at something like this, right? My first question is, where's the rock? Where's the rock? This must have been massive. Where is it? Someone told me the other day, they were like, oh, I've been to a museum and I've held shards of the rock. So that's proof that this is an asteroid. I think it was my dad who made a good point on the same thread. He said, why is it that these asteroids always happen to hit perpendicular to the tangent, right? So we've got a perfect or near perfect circle. No slides, no, huge valleys being dug out. It's just these circles. Just circles and no rock. So we're meant to believe that they transported these stones out of these, like all this, this is nonsense. This is a joke. This is going back to dinosaurs, man. Dinosaurs are for kids. This never happened. No rock shook the world. And what did they say? The world was vibrating for millions of years, like shaking. Oh, it's funny. Let's go back to this. Where did we leave off? Yeah, some of them are much closer than the ones in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Also pose a potential hazard to our planet. The joke is that we're threatened by giant piles of money, says Bonin. The revolution in small, low-cost satellites, you mean satelloons. There are no satellites. You're using ground-based towers, and they're using weather balloons. We know this. Satellites don't exist. Nothing can orbit the planet going through the thermosphere up into the higher parts of the atmosphere and then move at tens of thousands of miles per hour around the rock. That's just nonsense, obviously. The revolution in small, low-cost satellites is opening up opportunities for these startups to prospect and survey them. So we're just going to have loads of these space companies continue to open based on a false premise. Like, where is this money coming from? Do you want to know? It's all tax money. All these companies, as soon as they open up, they get funding upon funding upon funding from their local governments, from higher up in the governments, because they've taken it from tax money. Even these private companies, everyone goes to me talking about, oh, well, SpaceX is a private company. SpaceX is not a private company. I mean, how private can a private company be when Elon Musk is saying that he's had to open up all of his data, all the workings of the business to over 300 government officials. And then he's getting grant after grant of billions and billions and billions of dollars in tax money. And they want to call it a private company. Yeah, all right. Okay, sure. Why? Just because other companies are investing in it as well? It's garbage. Some countries are offering regulatory and financial incentives to encourage the nascent industry. I don't know what that word is, my bad. In July 2017, Luxembourg introduced legislation to allow companies with a physical presence in the country to keep any resources they mine from celestial bodies. You're not mining celestial bodies. I mean, how does that even happen? Are you going to mine Jupiter? Isn't that just a ball of gas that hasn't changed? If you go to Jupiter, picture of Jupiter from way back, right? Jupiter, let's say, in the, my bad, Jupiter 1990s. Did I have a picture of Jupiter in the 1990s? All the clouds, like, are these supposed to be fixed? Because they've never really moved. We just have storms of gas rolling around. And how did this become a ball of gas? What was the first gas particle that attracted gravity? Technically, if you had a whole bunch of separate gas particles, separate from each other, right? At the very beginning, before this was formed and it was just one molecule, how gravity would cancel itself out? Because how do they know which molecule to attract to? All of them would be attracting each other to the same degree because they're of the same mass. So it would literally cancel itself out. This couldn't happen. It couldn't happen. Oh, man. And what is this? I don't know what this is. The Osiris-Rex. Is a satellite, I'm guessing. Tinfoil. Because we all know that tinfoil is exactly what is going to protect you from the temperatures in the thermosphere. Because we know they get up to over 3,000 degrees. So this can obviously withstand that, even though we know that the melting point of aluminum is like 1,000 degrees less than that. So yeah, they're doing well here. Okay, let me come off screen sharing and jump in the chat just real quick. Not to mention cosmic radiation from glow bursts. Yeah, for real. These things, there's a whole bunch of things, right, that nobody takes into any sort of consideration when they look at these things. And I was actually talking to a friend, the friend that I was going to have this conversation with. And I asked him, I was like, what is the one proof, right, that you think the Earth is a ball, right? And everyone has their usual go-to answers. But his was literally, are all the scientists wrong? How are all the scientists wrong? And I had to try to explain to him, it's like, it's because the scientists have to be wrong by default before they can argue within their wrongness. What I mean by that is they have to accept the false premise, and then they can only argue within that false premise. That's their room to move in. They don't have any other room besides that, because as soon as they start going off, they lose their job. They're no longer going to be considered a scientist if they start saying, actually, no, I think the world is geocentric, because that's what all the evidence points to. Dave allegedly killed the clowns on Non Sequitur. Yeah, that was difficult to watch. If anyone hasn't watched that, go to my dad's channel over there and check out that debate. It is difficult to stomach. I mean, the guys on there, they really just, they seem to think they know everything. And I don't know. It's hard to stomach, because it's just, the same stuff where they have to reach into fairy tale land and into fantasy world to get their answers. They have to start dancing around with terminology instead of actually addressing anything with any substance. And it's really difficult. And it's one of the main things that you find when you talk to people about this thing, especially people who think they're very knowledgeable about the subject. When people aren't, and they can admit that they're not, then you don't get that kind of thing. But when you have people who believe that they know the model to a T, they'll just start pulling things out of the air, because that's just what happens. And when scientists are proven wrong, they are malicious and bratty. Well, yeah, I mean, they don't get proven wrong, because they come up with a new proof. That's the beauty of heliocentrism. If something's wrong, that they've proven to be true. Oh no, it's not wrong. We just have a new fact. That was still a fact. That was still a law, but here's just a new fact. Like, I think the idea that science textbooks go out of date within 15 years should just tell you that they don't actually know anything. And I believe in the debate that I have posted on my channel. People talk about, what was it? One of the people say, you know, science is never right. It's only the closest that we have. But if the closest that you have always ends up being wrong, then you were never close. Like, I just don't understand that logic. But some people just, you know, they believe that's the way it is. Let's jump back in here. They know it's flat. They just can't jeopardize their career and lifelong work to get ridiculed after realizing they cannot and don't have the funds to show the Earth's true shape. Yeah, well, of course, their career is over. As soon as one of them say, hey, you know what, actually, everything that the science community has talked about in regards to cosmology has been completely wrong. Not only wrong, but we've continued to perpetuate a lie just to hold up our side of the argument for decades and decades and decades. In fact, longer than that. So, I mean, they'll never ever come out and say they're wrong. And most of them, I would say, don't know. Like the ones like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, I would think they know, because when you see like Michelle Fowler and Neil deGrasse Tyson both come out trying to debunk the flat Earth by using a ship goes over the horizon, that's when you know, like, they must know. And Brian Cox is the same. He did the same exact thing. And to me, that is a complete telltale sign that they know for a fact that what they're saying is wrong, because you cannot be a doctor in the physical sciences and not know that ships don't go over the curve. That's just, I refuse to accept that completely. All right, jump back in here. Wait, D. Murphy is your dad, Red? Yes, in fact, he is. He is my dad. D. Murphy 25. In the convention debate, we proved them wrong about the Earth leaking atmosphere. Then they suddenly switched to agree, but then said the Earth creates more atmosphere. Oh yeah, I remember that. What was that? They were saying, but that's nonsense as well. The idea that the atmosphere leaks. Why would it leak? There's no physical practical basis for it to leak. It would just disappear instantaneously, unless you can show me a practical example of that not happening, which we all know you can't. Nobody can do that. So why would it leak? You know, it's not like a Coke can where you've just opened it a little bit and it's just, you hear the little fizz popping out. No, like, it's the atmosphere is totally exposed to a near perfect vacuum. It wouldn't leak. That's just. And they talked about it being a gradient, and, you know, they have to just make up all this stuff that doesn't exist. D. Murphy asked questions that have been answered already. I don't know what you mean by that. If Earth was a globe, it would be self-evident and it wouldn't be here for 3 years now. But the thing is, people believe that it is settled and it is self-evident because they don't look at it, because they've been turned away from looking at it by people who are just, you know, these basic things. And people go, oh my goodness, they don't know that boats go over the curve. Oh my goodness, they haven't seen planets in a telescope. Oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? They don't look any further than that. So they think we just don't know, that we've just been living under a stone. We haven't looked at the sky and gone, oh my goodness, the stars around the Earth is, oh man, I missed it. You know, that's what they think. They think we missed everything. We just don't know these things. It's, you know, the most common thing for a glober to forget when he's talking to someone who's a flat earther is that we were in the exact same shoes. And we went to school. Like, oh, you didn't go to school. Bro, we both learned the same things. I bet you didn't you didn't carry on and become a doctor in physics. And I'm glad that you didn't, because you would just be furthering your own indoctrination and getting in debt at the same time. I mean, you know, it doesn't work. R.F.LIVE Media, do you do urine therapy too? No, my dad says I should. I don't do it. I was about to say, well, it's because I feel healthy and you hear me coughing all the time. Like, no, I don't do it. I don't do it myself. People go to jail for selling apricot seeds. B17 cures cancer. It is in apricot seeds and peach seeds. It's because it would destroy the cancer money-making machine. Yeah, absolutely. I learned that years ago. My dad told me about those apricot kernels. He had bags of them. Yeah, the cancer is a hoax. The way they define cancer is the main problem, because it's the immune system. You should be, instead of at trying to kill the cancer by filling the body with enough radiation that it almost dies. You should be strengthening the immune system because cancer is like a naturally occurring thing, really. But the immune system needs to be strong enough to fight it off. And if you're lacking certain vitamins, it's almost like malnutrition. I mean, if you brought it down to the real basics, but they treat it as if you need to attack it. Thus, people go in to get chemo and do all these sorts of things that actually ends up hurting them more than it helps them. A lot of the time, anyway. The gravity of the vacuums. Out gravity's gravity. Yeah, well, just throw gravity at any situation and you're gonna win. That's the globe philosophy. If you could write the globe's Bible, it would be 600 pages, all of which blank except for the last one that just says gravity, because that's all you need to know. Without gravity, you have none of this. And I've actually been reading a couple books. They're super long. One's called Gravitation. It's about 1,300 pages, and one is Einstein's theory of gravity, his theory of gravity, as opposed to Newton's, in like it's 900 pages or something. And obviously it's all nonsense and really difficult to read and get through because I disagree with it all. But I'd really like to just completely pull it apart using their own model of nonsense to show that, because it just doesn't make sense. If you don't have gravity, you can't have planets, you can't have anything. The whole thing falls apart without gravity, and gravity's never been proven. Red flag. Where can we see behind the curve? Honestly, I don't know. The version that I watched is gone now because a lot of them got just fully taken down very early. So honestly, I don't know. The version I watched didn't have all of it, but it had a like 50 minutes or 60 minutes of it or something. And yeah, so yeah, I've seen that. You could probably find it somewhere. I don't know where though. Gravity is a real effect. The question is what causes it. No, gravity is not a real effect. Things dropping, when you drop them, things falling to the ground at 9.8 meters per second, that is an effect. Gravity is an explanation for that effect. Thus, gravity doesn't exist. The falling to the ground exists, but the explanation of it is fake. I could make up an explanation for why things fall to the ground. Air pressure from above is forcing it down. You know, like gravity is a false effect, but the things falling obviously is a real effect. But we could, you know, the density and buoyancy explains part of it, but I think it goes back to electrostatics and electromagnetism as to what creates the biases in each individual material. That's just my opinion, though. I'm still looking into the things. We don't know everything. This is another thing that, you know, Globers like to talk about. You don't have proof. You don't have an explanation for this. You don't have an explanation for that. Yeah, but it's not a fact that we're trying to, like, creating an explanation that's false makes no sense. If you know something is a lie, you have to reject it. If you don't have an explanation for something, admit you don't. That's fine. You can't know everything. But you can know when something is a lie, right? Like you can know that mass doesn't attract other mass because you can't find it anywhere. That's just, it doesn't exist. So you have to throw that away. Let's start a community where we grow our own food and live life how it's supposed to be. I actually think my dad's working on a project very similar to that in London, actually. He can talk about that. Daddy, if you wanted to join for any reason, then I can send you a link or something. I don't know where you are or where you're at. If you wanted to join, you can. Shalom, OTT, what's good? And Edgar Mendex, what's good, man? Can we talk Black Israelites? The Israelite movement. I have a video on the Israelites. I mean, I don't know what you would want to talk about in regards to the Israelites. In fact, I saw something recently. Actually, I'm going to talk about something I talked to my dad about. Yeah, I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link on Facebook. One sec. Yeah, in terms of the Israelite thing, I was actually talking to my dad about something. There's a video, and now this is not me saying that, oh, it's all false. I'm saying about one particular thing. There's a video or a documentary about that Sodom and Gomorrah, where you have sulfur. I'm going to do a little screen share after I've sent this link, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But they say that they found the Sodom and Gomorrah. This was some time ago, and they're saying, yeah, because there's these really pure sulfur. Now, I don't know why the sulfur would be as pure as it is, but they show these pieces of burnt up sulfur, and they say, you know, this was sulfur raining down from the sky in this area. But when I looked into it, when you go to the actual area, there are plenty examples of that sulfur actually not being burnt at all. Lots of it. And there's no real... How do I get the link out of this? I don't even know how I'm supposed to do this thing. Links. Oh, right. Okay. Got it. Wait, that's the YouTube page. Does anyone know how to get the links from Google Hangout? I used to know how to do this. I don't know anymore. Oh, wait, invite people. Can I do? All right. Okay, cool. It's all good. All right, yeah. But the Sodom and Gomorrah, there were loads of places where the sulfur was not burned at all. The sulfur was like, it was pure, but it wasn't burnt. There was no burn on it. And when you look at the surrounding areas, there's no ruins of the actual city. It looks like a sulfur mine. And now it might sound a little weird, but that's what it looks like. It looks like a sulfur mine that pieces of sulfur are still in, an abandoned sulfur mine, an old quarry. And so I was like, I don't know about that particular video. I don't know why I went onto the topic. I can't remember. Oh yeah, the Israelites thing. Wait, let me jump into the chat, see what people are talking. Yeah, what's up, Level Truth? What's up? Good to everyone in the chat. What's good? With all these theories, we can make up our own and say pressure from above makes the object fall. Yeah. Literally, you could make up anything. It doesn't matter. What's good, Lincoln? What's good? I'm unsubscribing. Bye. Goodbye, Neo. It was nice having you. Yeah, I've sent you the link, by the way, Dad, in the Facebook, if you wanted to join. Dave's greatest lit videos are the best for a newcomer to Flat Earth. Yeah, the biggest lie of all. Those videos are awesome. I like them. You guys should debate Team Skeptic. They want to debate any real Flat Earther. You know what about debates, man? I'm not trying to run into debates. Like, I'm not trying to just have debate people about something that is like, I'm so beyond that point. Like, I'm not saying I won't ever do a debate because I'd probably shoot myself in the foot if I said that. It's just I'm not running to do loads of debates like that because it's like, you know what happens in a debate. It's the same tactics. And I think when my dad gets on here, we can talk about debates in general. And I'm going to have to put my earphones on, actually, if he's joining the chat. But we can talk about debates. Obviously, he had that one that's now on my channel, and then he had the one on his channel with the non sequitur. And we realize it's the same pattern of thinking, the same attacking, the same kind of fantasy being pulled out of the air arguments when they get to certain points. Obviously, they'll run through the used up angles first, but then when they can't, then they'll start getting angry. They'll start doing this, they'll start doing that. So it's like, to me, the debates aren't actually as fruitful as they seem because, like if you go to my dad's channel to see the non sequitur show debate, you're gonna see people like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. You go into the non sequitur show and watch that same debate, you're gonna see people in the comment section like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I think he's in. Let me. Hello, are you in?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. We should have done this yesterday, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we really should have. I don't know why. I think it was just time goes so fast these days. It's like it was just didn't materialize. But I suppose we can do, because we talked about potentially doing it last time, but we can talk about the debates. Like you haven't spoken on how you felt the debates went, the ones that are on my channel now, the ones you did at the Flat Earth conference. How were they? What do you judge the reaction to them? Those kind of things.
Well, I don't know. I had a great deal of fun doing those debates.
Yeah, you could tell. You had him in a corner a few times. Yeah, so.
Yes, like about 4 times. Even before the debate started, I think in the so-called full debate, you didn't get the beginning where the physicists basically introduced themselves and gave their kind of opening statement.
Yeah.
And one of them said that, the round earth theory is, the obvious choice because it fits Occam's razor.
Occam's razor, I swear. It makes no sense when they use that as an argument because it's literally the total opposite. People throw it at me all the time when I'm on Facebook and things like this because I don't know where the logic is behind it, because literally if you take all of your senses and just put them together, then the most obvious thing would be flat stationary.
But your
So
senses are right.
yeah,
You know, that's the
exactly,
obvious
exactly.
one.
That's what you would assume. That's the first assumption you're gonna make. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. But go on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was saying it's the obvious thing that your senses are correct, and yes, when you look out at the ocean, it's flat. You know, you don't feel the fact that you know this idea that you're moving at 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah, I know that you know you should only feel acceleration,
Hmm.
but you know, if you've lived in England all your life and all of a sudden you go down to the equator, or England is spinning at something like 700 miles an hour, and you go down to the equator, well, now you're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. You should feel the difference, shouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, of course you should feel the difference. And then people will say, well, you don't feel the difference because the atmosphere is moving with the Earth at the same speed. And because we're not actually accelerating and changing speeds, even though that's false, apparently the Earth is actually changing speeds and changing velocity. But they'll say, oh, because it's not changing velocity, it's always been moving at that speed. So you don't have to adjust to it. You won't feel it because, you know, it's the same effect.
Right,
But
yeah. 67,000 miles an hour. And then in that 67,000 miles an hour, it's an elliptical orbit. So you're going to be going fast at one point and then slower again. So why don't we feel that? You know, we should just detect something, you know?
yeah, definitely. And if the atmosphere is really moving with the Earth, then how is it possible that the Coriolis effect is changing the direction of the storms?
Mm.
Because if it's got to be one or the other, right? Either the air is moving, the atmosphere is moving with the spin of the Earth, or it's being
Oh yeah,
affected
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
by the spin. You know, it can't be both, right? Like that is, I don't know.
Yeah, I know there's so many holes of that Coriolis effect, and with this idea of the atmosphere spinning with the Earth. I mean, I think in my the debunkers presentation at the conference, I went through a scenario about the idea of why doesn't a helicopter just lift off, hover for an hour or so, and then land, you know, a few thousand miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I give the same example with a Harrier jump jet. Okay, so the Harrier jump jet is like hovering over the Earth. Okay, so in the globe Earth logic, the Harrier jump jet is spinning backwards at 1,000 miles an hour. Let's assume it's on the equator and facing west, or yeah, facing west. So it's actually spinning backwards at 1,000 miles an hour with the Earth, with the atmosphere. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's now assume that this Harrier jump jet takes off at like 1,000 miles an hour. Now, from the view of off the Earth from space, if there was such a thing, the Harrier jump jet would be stationary, and the Earth and the atmosphere would be whizzing past it at 1,000 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So let's imagine now that, and this is the difference between, you know, these two very similar systems. They're very similar, so that you can't really tell the difference between them, but there is a very important difference. So if this plane suddenly banks to the north, now it's going to encounter 1,000-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between the plane moving and the atmosphere moving.
Of course. So that's a wrap for the jet as soon as it turns.
That's a wrap. You know, again, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm not a scientist. You know, I'm just somebody who you know, I've studied lots of science and as a lay person, but you know, there were some things that are pretty bloody obvious, I'd say.
I don't accept the I'm not a scientist. I don't accept it, because I think that science, I think everybody is a scientist.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. Yeah,
because we're like, when people say things like, you know, I'm not a scientist, but it's like giving power to the institutionalized science, right? Saying, oh, well, this guy is a PhD, he's been studying X and Y for so many years, you know, and yet the people are doing more independent research on their own and coming to conclusions that completely negate that. So I feel like saying I am a scientist, as in a institutionalized scientist, gives you less credit in these days.
I would, again, I'd have to agree with you, because even in my first video, I say that you know, science, you know, all these breakthroughs didn't all come from these scientists working in labs. They came from people like us, just having different ideas. You know, and that's it. We are all scientists. You know, there's this strange idea out there that in order to be something in this world, you have to go through a particular process and get certain bits of paper, and then you're considered a scientist.
Yeah.
Well, I talk to a lot of people, and I one of the things I tell them all the time is that, you know, as a human, you have this unlimited potential to do anything, absolutely anything that a human can do. Well, you can do it, you know, and if it's something that a human can't do, you probably be the first. Yeah. It's only this system that we've been indoctrinated into, or we've been born into, that tells you that, you know, somewhere around the age of 13, it presents you with a narrow list of choices and says, these are the things that you can do, you know, in your life. They're the only things you're fit to do. And that's it. Choose one of them. Yeah. And that's it. This whole indoctrination system is about narrowing your choices down to a few things that society supposedly wants. Yeah. Whereas actually in real life, you've got unlimited choices. You could decide to do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's it. If you believe in this system, then you'll believe that bullshit, and then you'll have this narrowed life. I don't know how did I get onto this? Sorry.
I can't even remember where it started from, but that's fine. And I agree with you. It's totally trying to move people.
Scientists.
Oh yeah, scientists, exactly. Yes. But yeah, it's totally a system built to funnel people down into one singular lane, and then have, you know, don't question anything, keep doing the same thing you've been doing for years, only do that, and you don't actually end up knowing anything. And
it also tells you that you can't be anything else. Once you've made your choice, or your set of choices about what you're going to do, then, you know, all your knowledge is kind of skewed towards that thing. And it also tells you that, well, you can't be anything else because you haven't done the same sort of level of compartmentalization in that particular subject. So if you're saying you want to look at physics, well, you can't be a physicist because you haven't put in the hours and stuff. But you know what? The thing that makes the difference is passion. If you have a passion for something, then you can become an expert in it in no time flat because of the passion. You know, so it's different from those people who are only doing things because they want to get a paycheck. Yeah, this is how flat earthers become so expert in stuff because they get this passion to find out. You know, I've learned so many things about the physical world just because I wanted to look at the flat Earth. It's been amazing.
Absolutely, it's all about the time you want to put into it. You get a spark for something, and then you put your time into it just because you want to, and you'll pick it up. Like, I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's actually an extremely good painter. And she didn't start painting. She's like my age, so like 22, and she didn't start painting until she was like 16 or something. And by the way, these are like hyper realistic paintings, like super high realistic paintings. And she showed me the first thing she ever did, and it was like a tiny like stick, like she couldn't draw. Like she didn't know how to draw at all. And it was just, she told me that it was literally, she woke up. I didn't believe it, but she said she woke up and she just decided she wanted to do it and was doing it day after day after day after day. And now it's like, you would think she'd been doing it since she was like 3 years old.
Oh, that's a nasty cough, Connor. You should really drink some weed for that.
yeah, I knew you were gonna say something, right? Yeah, it's been lingering, and it's also I noticed my cough stay a little around a little longer these days because I smoke, you know. So like but I that actually made me think about something today when cigarettes and the power of words and thought and images, because I was having this discussion with someone and I was saying, look, yes, you know, should people be smoking? Definitely not. I would never tell somebody they should be smoking or smoking is a good idea. But when you have people who are already smoking, right? And they said it's bad to advertise cigarettes. And I could agree to an extent, but then when you on every packet of cigarettes, there's an image flashing of someone's lungs cut open, someone's throat cut open, saying the words die, death, cancer. You know, when you flash these words and these images repeatedly over and over and over again, that's going to have an astronomical effect to the psyche and thus to the physical. When you shove these ideas in someone's face, you cannot help but to have a physical reaction to it. And we've shown that in things like the rice experiment or the water experiment. You can see this time, even the plant experiment where they like shout abuse at plants or things like this. And you see the difference. We know that images and words, because printing press, television are the easiest ways to impress an idea and to push something and to program someone. So that's what they do. It's all about repetition. So that's why I said that the new packaging idea is just terrible.
You know the name of that is the nocebo effect. Yeah. It's,
nocebo. Yeah, I actually learned this the other day when I was watching something.
So yeah, you if you start to believe something negative about yourself, then your body's going to make it happen. So all that negative stuff on those cigarette packets, that's there to program you. And this is what the English language is. It is a programming language for the human mind. That's all it is. It's a manufactured language, and that is why they are rolling it out all across the earth, right? To literally make people programmable. The television does that. You know, we know this intuitively anyway. You know, as you said, symbolism, words, pictures, you know, that's what programs the subconscious. And if anybody doesn't believe that, then, you know, try and figure out why advertising works. You know, that's exactly what it is. You know, I've been saying, you know, I've been trying to put this presentation together about language, but you know, I've mentioned about the word cure actually meaning to preserve, and suffer to mean permit. But I just thought another one just hit me the other day. Doctor. To falsify.
Oh, of course, to doctor something. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I didn't put two and two together.
It's right there in front of us, you know, these things are right there in front of us, and we I think they're so close that we can't see them.
Yeah. It's word magic. It's clearly a manufactured language. There's no two ways about it. Just the way that, you know all these basic things that nobody pays any attention to. They just think that's the way it is, but it's, you know, it's clearly put there for a reason. And, you know, people's brains are way more, or their psyche is way more malleable than they believe they are. They think they can't be swayed. They think they can't be fooled. They think, you know, they have a grasp on the world, and nothing could pass them by.
Well, what they've done really, and they've done this in many different spheres actually. What they've done with language is they've reversed it. Okay, they've reversed language, and then sort of created a reverse language to program us. So to program us forwards, if that makes any sense,
right?
Because your subconscious reads backwards. It reads backwards better than it reads forwards, because the first language were read right to left. Okay. So they've created a language that reads left to right, so they can program you covertly right to left.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Because all the language, that's where it started from, right? That's where we naturally read.
So when people do speed reading, for instance, there's one technique of speed reading where You know, once you've skimmed through the book, you know, forwards, you turn the book upside down and backwards, and then you read the thing, you know, backwards and upside down. And that, you know, basically goes straight inside into the subconscious. So, you know, you can't consciously read it, you're just scanning the page that's upside down and backwards, but your subconscious is taking it all in. And this is where all this word magic is aimed at. It's aimed at your subconscious mind. It's slipping past your conscious mind, so you don't really notice what's going on, but it's going straight to your subconscious. So when a policeman is beating the hell out of somebody in handcuffs and shouting, stop resisting, that's going into your subconscious. You're thinking, oh, the guy must be resisting then, and so this is all right, you know.
Yeah, I actually saw a very, very good example of what you're just talking about, of a video. Some of y'all might have seen it on Facebook, of a woman on a beach, right? She's just got an open can of beer or something, and she's not allowed to have alcohol. And the police literally tackle her, start punching her in the side of the head. And the people, not the police, the people watching are saying, stop resisting, stop resisting. And it's like, wow, it's like they got the citizens watch out here. You know what I'm saying? They've got their own little, that's just crazy to me how, you know, people can see things like that going on, know in their heart that it's wrong, no matter who they are, shouldn't be going down, and you know, tell the person to just, you know, submit to these guys just beating them up. You know, it's just crazy.
Well, that's the ultimate aim there. That you know, at the end of the day, we end up policing ourselves. Yeah, so we'll all sort of become, you know, informants on each other, and you know, keep everybody down. You know, by ourselves. They won't even need a police force.
Yeah, this is also true. I think I mentioned it once. I said, like, it's like the glow believers are like sleeper agents. Not, you know, they will do the attacking for the establishment. So as soon as you say something like, oh, I think any conspiracy, when people are completely shut off to the idea and think, oh, conspiracy theorists and all this, they will do the attacking for the establishment. Doesn't have to do anything because the people will already attack them and already shut them out and already cut them off and make them feel ostracized without them even having to get involved. So it's like these people are working for their side already.
Yeah, I think you know, again, the Matrix had it right. You know, I think that effect is starting to be called the Agent Smith effect. You know,
right, yeah.
You know, you can talk to you know, a muggle about X Factor or EastEnders or something, but as soon as you mention flat Earth, you know, Agent Smith, you know, appears. And then he's attacking you, you know.
Yeah. That's reality. That's just how it is. Like I for me, what I've noticed, I don't know if anybody else in the chat or anybody else who's watching has noticed the same thing, or if you've noticed the same thing. But when I'm online, all right, when I'm online and I'm on Facebook, even on Facebook, where people still know who each other are, they can see their own faces, they can see their own names. They will say things and they will go to you and approach you about topics like the flat earth and about topics like any kind of conspiracy, any, you know, the pharmaceutical fraud, the money fraud, 9/11, any of these things. And they will approach you in a way that in person, they just won't. It just won't happen. It won't material. Like they are more personable, believe it or not. And I think that's why it's important that some of this kind of a movement, it's also offline. It moves to offline. You know, we're doing things in the real world, in reality, and not just online, because online people are way more dismissive because they feel they can be, you know?
Well, no, it has to be offline. I mean, I think the majority of it has to be offline, you know, because online is becoming more and more of a managed space. You know, we know that, you know, the algorithms are there to keep us in an echo chamber, so that all our you know, flat Earth posts are going to people who already know about the flat Earth. You know,
yeah.
So like, you know, they're not going out to the general population. So again, going back to the Matrix, that line in the in what I think it was Matrix Reloaded, with the architect. Said he put out a lot of real truth that most people missed because he was talking in such flowery language. But the point he was making was that in a system such as the Matrix, you can't allow the people who wake up to stay in the Matrix. You have to let them go. You have to let them escape somewhere, so then you can crush them.
Right.
Yeah, but it has to be outside of the Matrix. Otherwise, they will destroy the Matrix from within. So that's why, essentially, they're kind of letting us go and do our thing, but they're sort of keeping us in a contained environment, you know, on social media, which is why I say we have to really get out, and you know, out on the street, and you know, out of this this artificial cyberspace.
Mm-hmm. And absolutely. And what I showed earlier on the show with when you type in flat Earth now, it's less results and it's all mockery. It goes back to that now. You know, they're trying to isolate, even though the movement is still growing online. They're trying to isolate it to one side that people don't even find anymore. You know, it's harder for people who are new to the idea to actually find real information about it. And that's really happening everywhere. YouTube is just one example, but it's happening with Google results. You're just going to find the same pattern over and over again. So yeah, it's definitely now got to expand. More people have to, you know, talk to the person sat next to them, or for me, obviously I'm doing the battle rap stuff. So I was actually able to talk to a lot of people who, you know, online, I mostly get the people who will ridicule it. But when I met with a lot of people who had seen my posts from the battle rap kind of movement, the battle rap family, I guess, that didn't say anything at the time, and then wanted to talk a lot about it when we were face to face, you know, because they feel a little, you know, they don't want to come out about it immediately. They don't want to be talking about it because it's one of those subjects that people don't like seeing you talk about, right? So yeah, I would say that in person is really the way this has to go forward.
Yeah, right, indeed. And I think there's activism day coming up on I think it's on the 23rd or something in London. I'm going to be at that one, so you know, I've not done any street activism before, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, no, you'll be a natural at that. I can imagine you're like you've woken a lot. You turned me basically when we had our conversation years ago. I was like,
that sounds like a Darth Vader reference.
Yeah, to the dark side. Yeah, no, but like that was it. I mean, I wasn't completely like, oh, you know, it took me some time even to go back to it, because I was just like, after the conversation, I was looking up in the sky, and I think that's the main thing. When you know, or when you have the idea in your head, and then you start looking at the sky, and you start looking at the sun, and you start looking at the moon and the stars, you think, yeah, like this has got to be, it's got to be like, these have got to be close, they've got to be small. You know, I've never observed any of what I'm being told is true, and I don't know, it's just it's a pretty crazy experience. It makes looking up at and watching the world a little more beautiful than it was when you thought it was just some random dust particle, you know.
I'm just gonna see if I can do it again, actually turn you again. Drink your urine, my son.
I think you're gonna have to try a little harder than that. I'm sorry.
The horse is wrong with you.
What are you speaking through right now?
Well, like, do you remember my Darth Vader vase?
What? No, I don't.
No, you don't, because that was when you were young, actually.
Right. Okay,
I had this. We had this big black vase in our living room
right.
before we left England, and it was my Darth Vader vase, because whenever I put Star Wars on, which was a lot,
yeah,
I'd pick up this vase and I'd be saying, was it, what was he saying? I can't even remember what he's saying now, but it's I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I forget that you were like a hardcore sci-fi head, like
seriously.
Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, all the Star Trek generations on DVD, like, like yeah, fully on it. Like
I know. I mean, that was the hardest thing, actually. There's a lot of people who say they get depressed over learning about the flat Earth. You know, I didn't really get depressed over flat Earth. I was depressed over Star Trek and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! I mean, I thought one day we're going to have the Starship Enterprise. You know, it was gonna come true. You know, we were heading towards it. You know, I remember sitting there with my mum, you know, watching Captain Kirk running about, you know, and he had this communicator, he had the laptop on his desk and all this stuff. And, you know, 20 years later, we had flip phones and laptops, you know, so it was looking like we were going that way and it was going to happen. But
that was the point though, right? That's the point.
Yes. Yeah, that was the point. That was the point.
Put that in your mind and tell you, look, this is your future.
As NASA, I think the meme says, the only thing that NASA has ever taken to space was your imagination.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And my imagination was out there. It was seriously out there. I've said this before. I even signed up to bloody Mars. You know, that one-way trip to Mars. Oh
no way!
I actually signed up for that. For God's sake, you know?
How's that looking? You're going soon, I guess, right?
No, it's another few years. Another few years.
Yeah, another few years. Yeah, someone on Facebook, they went to me. They were like, "Oh yeah, no, you're all gonna be crying when we finally do public space travel." And I was like, "Yeah, that's definitely gonna happen by 3924." And he was like, "Oh no, it'll be ready in the next 10 years." I was like, "Yeah, in the next 10 years, they'll be ready to say they'll be ready in the next 10 years." You know what I'm saying? It's happened every decade.
Yeah, like, it's the ones who are excited the first time have died off, and they'll be talking to their children next. You know, yeah, you're gonna go to Mars soon. You know?
Yeah, it's like this article I read. It's kind of like a little mind blowing just to read that beginning part where they're talking about, you know, Earth is too small, we have to move to another planet, and they're just putting this nonsense in children's heads, and it's just crazy. And that's what kind of makes me a little afraid to have children. You know, I'm thinking like, man, like it must be hard to have kids, especially young kids who've, like, at least for me, like I wasn't born with an iPhone in my hand. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff, I was still growing up when those things were coming out. Like I was still growing up when the first flip phone came out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm pleased to know that you got a dumb phone now, just like me.
Yeah, I've had it for months now. Like I had to put it down. I mean, it would be nice. There are a couple things that I do miss actually from it now, like only from like I'd be able to do things from, but it's not necessary, you know what I'm saying? And there are a lot of things. I wasted a lot of time on that phone. Like I would be sat there scrolling and then catching myself like, what am I doing? Like I'm reading people's posts like, got work tomorrow. Like what am I doing? Like I don't.
I know. And on that subject, I mean, I'm on the run up to my departure from Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yeah, seriously, because the final nail in the coffin for me was listening to those. I don't know if you've seen it. The two creators of Facebook, basically coming out and saying all the things we've been saying for the last 10 years or so. Yeah, that they're exploiting human psychology to make you use that thing, and you know, I keep referring to a dopamine hit. Have you seen it yet?
Oh, of course. I've seen these kind of things. I've seen an interview with one guy talking about it. I think he was a former employee, and he's talking about how it's exploiting your emotion, the dopamine hit thing, where every time you get a like, and they've expanded that now with the reactions button. Every time you get a love or you get a ha, you know, that's that kind of thing. It's appealing to your dopamine receptors and giving you that quick burst of like happiness, a shot of happiness,
an addictive
manufactured. Completely addictive. And with the phone, it was much worse because it was like it would, you know, my phone vibrate or something. You know, I'd get like it'd have to poke me just to let me know that that's going on. You know what I'm saying? So I understand why you're leaving or why you're thinking to leave. Because like I had the same thought. I was actually off for a year. I only brought it back when I started getting back into battle rap, because I want you to like promote events and things like this. And
Sure.
that was another reason why I was going to stop battling, because I knew I had to be online like that more heavily. But it's not such a big deal.
Well, I mean, they actually basically said that you know, Instagram and Twitter and all those other social media platforms, they all use the same you know, reward kind of psychology, you know, dopamine hit mechanism. I know I'm not on any other, you know, other platforms. I think I've got a Twitter account I've never used.
You made a Twitter account and didn't do anything.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I still don't understand it, to be honest.
yeah,
but
I believe that.
But I just, after I listened to that interview, there were 2 interviews actually, but I listened to the interviews and I thought, okay, how addicted am I to it? And I kind of noticed that I did kind of keep returning to it, you know, every couple of hours or so, and then find myself, because somebody will talk to me, and then while I'm talking to somebody, I'll comment on something and so on. I found myself, you know, like 2 or 3 hours will go by, and I think, well, hang on, what am I doing? You know. So yeah, I know I've got there's a certain amount of addiction there with me. So you know, I can't bear addiction. So so I'm gonna have to delete it myself completely. And
right.
So I'm preparing to get off it. But you know, at the same time,
I'm gonna say one. Yeah, I'm gonna say one thing in terms of addiction. The only reason why I would say it's not quite the same, and I think they may be inflating it, is only because with addiction, like for me, cigarettes. Obviously, I smoke. Like when I don't have cigarettes, I'm thinking about having a cigarette. When I'm not on Facebook, I'm not thinking about, like, if I'm not by my computer, or I'm not by a phone, I'm not thinking about, I need to go check Facebook. I need to go check Facebook. Maybe that's just for me, but in terms of that, like, it's not the same kind of a thing. I suppose we're talking about psychological versus physical here, but still.
Well, just you know, monitor, see how, when you're on Facebook again, you know, when you're on the next time, just see, monitor yourself, you know, how long are you on it, you know, how often do you go back to it? That's the thing.
I've got to open as a tab right now, so I got to be quiet, right?
There you go. Shut up.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, when you see that there's some new activity there, you know, how drawn are you to it? You know, you find, well, I found that I was more drawn than I'd liked to have been. So yeah, I'm gonna have to move away from it.
Yeah. Oh no, I understand that. I get that, and you know, it's something that I'd like to do. If I leave battling, or I do retire from battling, I will have my Facebook turned off. I've done it once before, and I've been using it more recently. But no, I hear what you're saying, and it is something that I wanted to do. So
I have to say also that it's got a lot less interesting of late, though. You know, the Facebook, for some reason, something changed.
Well, they've been messing with the algorithm for time. You know, they did that very brief, had a brief moment where they were putting "this is fake news" warnings on everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's because they're toying with things, and they're making sure that certain things don't show up in your timeline. Certain things do show up in your timeline. So they're really playing with it. They're doing it with all across the board. Like YouTube is no different. Twitter is no different. They're selectively promoting and suppressing certain things.
Well, I know that because you know, when we left New Jersey, you know, I was getting lots of messages from or you know, notifications of stuff going on in New Jersey, you know,
right.
And I was responding to some and stuff, but you know, there came a point when everything stopped from New Jersey. Nothing. It's like the place is dropped off the map, you know.
Okay.
So I know now that's the algorithm kicking in. You know, there's nobody in New Jersey who was you know, into flat Earth or into urine therapy or anything like that. So it sealed me in a bubble and kept me away from you know, those posts. And obviously, presumably, my posts were being kept away from them. So yeah, it's it's obvious. It's getting rather obvious now, and yeah, that's why I think there has to be a move away from this social media. You know, it is affecting, as the guy said, it's affecting the fabric of society. You know,
Yeah.
we can see that. I mean, you know, I was on a tram the other day in Manchester, and again, nobody's talking to each other. Everyone, I mean, literally everyone was on some kind of device. And nobody, you know, everyone was absorbed by this glowing screen, you know, this black mirror, and you know, there was no society out in real life.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. The sense of community is gone. There's no community in the community as far as it, like in the cities at least. Maybe it's never been, but I don't know. I feel like there was a time where there was, but it's not. Everyone is completely detached and independent from one another. It's not the same. And you know what? I found out about Manchester recently. There's a near Oxford train station. There's that big abandoned theater. I don't know if you ever saw it. You know when you're on the tram and you see that little almost like tiny village of tents.
Oh yeah,
homeless people. That theater is full of homeless people. Like, so you always think, oh well, the people you see in the streets. There's a lot of homeless people on the streets in Manchester. No, there's way more than what you see. Like a lot more. And it's only getting worse. And people's or feeling of responsibility for that is dissipating and dissipating and dissipating. I even had to get a little say something to a friend who was like a homeless person asked for change, so I was like getting money out, and he was like, "Oh, I hate when they do that." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Come on, man, you know what I'm saying?" Like, you'd spend your money on a chocolate bar and a bottle of Lucozade if you didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not. It's I don't know. People's kind of and this heliocentric idea and these other ideas, this science idea, it has contributed to that 100% without a doubt.
I'm looking at other areas of again the social breakdown.
Right.
There's something that not many people are really talking about. It's I guess it's more pronounced in America, but it's the retail apocalypse. Have you heard?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, there are so many, you know, huge, you know, corporations, you know, shops and stuff, all closing down all at once. You know, it's like and I was going through. I remember when last time I was in America, I went. Well, last time I was in sort of our area. I went to the local mall, and it was like
Palisade or what?
No, the other one, Paramus.
Paramus, yeah.
Now that you know how big that place was, and
huge.
And how you know packed it used to be. It was almost empty, you know, and there were so many sort of empty shops and stuff. It was going towards becoming a ghost mall. You know?
Look, America's becoming a Walgreens, man. There's nothing in there. There's nothing there. You know, I haven't been there in a while, but this is the I can't think of the word. This is the impression I'm getting, seeing and watching what's happening. Like and I'm sure, well, I know that the UK is not far behind. It's like following in its footsteps.
Yeah, well, we know that. Well, I think it was my mum who told me about the universal basic income thing being trialled in Scotland.
What, really?
That's what I heard. I'm not sure. I'm going to, you know.
I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, so they're preparing this universal basic income because jobs are going away. You know, they've been unnecessary for like 60 years anyway. You know.
Yeah.
But jobs are going away, and what they're going to replace them with is this universal basic income, which has to be doled out by the government, so it makes you completely and utterly dependent on government. So it will probably necessitate, you know, having a chip.
Yeah.
What can you do to say no if your only income is you know supplied by the government?
Yeah.
So, but that I think is the plan. But I really don't think that we're going to get that far. You know.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. But the universal income thing, the thing is, people are gonna love that idea. People are gonna
Oh,
absolutely love it.
initially, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
people are just gonna eat it up.
yeah, because I know how I literally know how they work. I used to work in the DHSS at one point. DHS, I think it's called now. I can't remember. But yeah, the Social Security Office, and I saw how they work. You know, they'll make it attractive to begin with, and then slowly erode it until, and so you know, boiling frog style, you don't notice it. You know.
Yeah,
So yes, it's going to be very attractive to start with. You know, who wouldn't want free money? You know.
that's it, right? The free money, and then you fall into the mousetrap. Yeah,
Yes, and then you know the well, you're going to have to work. You know. 2 hours 2 hours a day to get your money. Oh, okay, all right, we can do that. And then it's 4 hours, and it's then it's 3 days a week, then it's 7 days a week,
mm-hmm.
and then before you know it, you're back into chattel slavery again.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, as you said, I don't see things getting that far before this whole thing, the system they're running on falls apart. You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you, divine intervention.
I mean, these things have happened when I'm looking a lot at. I wanted to do a video called like a true history, something like that, where I just go over some of the things that I've learned or that I've been looking into in regards to how many times a civilization ending event has actually happened. It's not just happened. Like I feel like several like think about the Tower of Babel though. That just as an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's like well, the scriptures say that they got so far and then they had to confuse the whole thing, and that's a civilization ending event, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we have a time or instance upon instance of these huge cities either under the water or under the earth. So like they dig out these massive scale excavations, and they find these things that they call underground cities, as if they were built underground. But of course, no, they weren't built underground. They were marketplaces, or they were open areas that got completely somehow, like through liquefaction or through mudslides or something, got completely covered up, washed away. And these things, but on the basis of the architecture, are in different periods of time. And we know that the technology we have today is just a rehashing of technology we've had before.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at what's going on in Hawaii right now. Yeah, there's lava coming up from the earth. Depending on, people think there's no such thing as volcanoes. Well, something's happening, and it's literally sort of swarming over the land and destroying everything in its path. If that's happened a few times, there could be whole cities that just got covered in lava, and you never know they were ever there.
Yeah. The thing with volcanoes, I'm not gonna say, because I've seen, I'm not gonna say that I don't think they're real, but the coverage is fake. So far, if you look at some of the coverage of this Hawaii event, and you properly look at it, this is like, it's total fakery. You'll see like slides of lava pouring down into it looks like it. You'd have to really see it for yourself, for your own eyes. The whole thing, it looks fake, completely. I don't doubt that something happened over there and there was some kind of event, but the way it's being publicized and like the way it's being shown in video is not real.
To be honest, I haven't looked too far into it. I've just been sort of it's been going on in the background. So yeah, maybe I'll take a look. But yeah, just it to me, it's just goes along with this end of days narrative that we're definitely in at the moment, and it's this is the exciting part of this whole journey. This is the time that all the ancients were pointing at and going, wow. you know, that time's going to be amazing, you know,
Yeah.
and here we are right in the middle of it.
Yeah, really. No, it's very exciting. I think we've bounced off quite a few topics here. So we can wrap it up. I want to say thanks to everybody who is in the chat, everybody who is watching, and thanks for coming on, Dad, on an impromptu little discussion. It was fun.
Okay. That's okay. As I said, we were supposed to do this yesterday, but